We are using QuickBooks, although it doesn't say what version. It doesn't say if it's Pro, Premier, Enterprise, or Online. And are planning on acquiring multiple separate entities and having each of them in their own file. Good. I love to hear that. Gold star for you for having legally separate entities in their own file. We'll have a parent entity over them. Where do we go from here in terms of reporting? If there aren't 3 other people on this line right now who are rubbing their hands. So the answer to that question, you can have consolidated reporting with a little help or a lot of help, depending on what accounting package that you're using, right? Yeah, exactly. So if you're using, thank you, Michelle, if you're using QuickBooks Enterprise, there is a quick consolidation tool. So here is how to make that a success. So pros and cons, right? Pros and cons of everything. QuickBooks Enterprise is way more expensive than QuickBooks Premier, and it's way more expensive than QuickBooks Pro. And depending on how many entities you have and how long you can keep Enterprise before being forced to upgrade, may be less expensive than QuickBooks Online. So depending on the context here, your pros and cons of Enterprise in terms of cost. However, the consolidation tool is nifty because you pretty much click a couple of buttons and all the financial statements from the main financial statements, for the most part, from your other entities are kind of sucked in. And when the great vacuum sound has ceased, poof, in Excel has been created your consolidated financials. Thanks, Hector. Thanks for mentioning QVinci. I appreciate that. Leanne, welcome. Oh my gosh, Leanne is a community leader in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and she was the director of my handbell choir. I was a participant in her handbell choir. Thanks so much for joining. So yes, after the great sucking sound is over, you'll have your consolidated financials in Excel. Pros and cons. Pro means you don't have to do a whole lot manually, sort of. Con, there's some setup work that's required in order to make this work. QuickBooks Enterprise recognizes 2 accounts that are the same in different files. Same account number if you're using account numbers, same account name. However, if anybody changes the chart of accounts in file number 7, somebody changes the account number or somebody changes the name of the account, that automatic consolidation tool in QuickBooks Enterprise is not going to recognize that they're actually the same account. And they're going to show up on 2 separate line items, and now you get something manual and messy. Also, Enterprise doesn't handle intercompany consolidations very elegantly. You have to first make them all assets or make them all liabilities so they net out. And that may require some manual work. And if you don't want to do it manually every time, then you're going to end up with like a negative asset on one set of books in order to keep it there. Let's say they're all assets. One entity's books are going to show as a positive intercompany, and the other entity's books are going to show a negative intercompany. And that's just going to be weird when you run the company financials just for the subsidiary. So if you want to really avoid playing pin the tail on a subsidiary, use a technology like QVinci, and if you're using QuickBooks Online or another cloud software like Xero, you can also use Spotlight reporting. Spotlightreporting.com. Hector has a comment. You also have the challenge of the multiple different chart of accounts, right, across all company files. So QuickBooks Enterprise consolidation, which works great, it does, with a big if, you still need to make sure that every single company file has an identical chart of accounts. Otherwise, you're going to have a real messy consolidation. Right on, brother. I'm hearing you on that. Do you know of a tool that does handle intercompany transactions on a consolidated basis well? Hector, you can weigh in on whether QVinci does that. I can tell you from my experience, Michelle, that when an outside technology is not available and we're not using Enterprise, I actually have set up an Excel template. I know that people have torn their hair out over consolidating manually in Excel. However, if a certain tagging feature is used, then consolidating multiple entities, including eliminating intercompany transactions, can really take like 10 minutes. And I can show the technique in a one-on-one session. I've done a couple of webinars on that as well. One called Consolidating Financial Statements in Excel. I don't remember what partner I was with when I presented that. It could have been Encorsa. If you look at encorsa.com, you might be able to find it, or you can email me and I'll see if I can get you the link. I did a demo of that process. Michelle, although I don't use Spotlight, someone on my team has used it, which is how it came to my attention. Hector, there's a workaround for that. Basically, you have to make sure both income and expense of both sides, basically part of the same account. Maybe we can make them sub-accounts. Okay, there's no automated consolidation even with QVenty. Yeah, got it. What I do when I push these out to Excel is I have a front side and a back side. I have the front-facing financial statements. They're nicely formatted, but all the numbers are sum-ifs that come from the trial balance. And I have the trial balance on the back end. Each trial balance stacked one on top of another. The sum-if just looks at the entirety of the column. Let's say the trial balance accounts are in column A. Let's say the numbers are in column B. All the debits and credits combined into one column. And column C has the tagging that's done on a one-time basis from the trial balance to the front-facing financials. Boom, everything's consolidated. And on your back end, I know I'm talking super geek. Am I losing people? I'm gonna get back to like English in just a moment. On the back end, you can also run, well, what's in cash? Just put a filter on that set of trial balances and make sure you don't have any spaces between them. But you can contact me and let me see if I can find the link for the demo if you want.